Still on? We're all going to stay here. No, you have to stay here with us.
So, can we start or no?
Should we start?
No.
No?
Where's Daisy? You guys tell us when he can go live. I was told to wait until the president finishes. We've been waiting for a while. As soon as that live signal that I think you're carrying goes off, we're ready to go. I'm going to be very brief.
Is he done? Vice President is talking.
Yeah, he was talking, yeah.
Speaking, so you're talking.
Can you go close to the, yeah.
Guys, we're not sorry. We're waiting for everything to Trump to be finished. False alarm. All right.
Are we ready to go?
Is that him talking?
They're
No.
You would tell us when it's time to start?
I'm sorry?
Do we know when to start?
Yeah, they will let us know.
Hi, how are you?
You'll tell me. Okay.
If he's done?
Okay, we can go, guys. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going.
Okay. We're on? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Perla Tavares-Handman, Chairman of the School Board of Miami-Dade County. I would like to extend my thanks, my appreciation to my esteemed colleagues on the school board that are here with us this afternoon. Dr. Steve Gallon III, our Vice Chair, Ms. Susie Castillo, Dr. Martin Karp, Dr. Larry Feldman, Ms. Maritero Rojas, and Dr. Marta Perez. We're here this afternoon to first tell you that our students' safety and their well-being are the number one priority that we have for Miami-Dade County School Board. We want the parents that are watching or listening to us to know that we are here to support them and to assure them that our students are safe and will be safe. As the chair of the Miami-Dade County School Board, the vice chair, and on behalf of all over my colleagues and the school board members, we have our superintendent of school, Mr. Carvalho. We have asked him, authorized, and direct him to take every possible action to make sure that our students are safe. We are closely monitoring developments, working with the Florida Department of Health, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Florida Department of Education, and other state and local officials to provide appropriate guidance. Mr. Carvalho and members of his cabinet are doing an amazing, extremely good job, and will be providing updates after our Vice Chair, Dr. Steve Gallon, say a few words. Sorry.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to all of the individuals in our state and throughout this country, and quite frankly throughout the world, who have been negatively affected by this particular coronavirus. We're very, very proud of the work that our school district has done through the leadership of our school board, the leadership of our superintendent, his entire staff, and all of our faculty, staff, and teachers, and everyone who has put their shoulder to the wheel of this work to support our children and make sure that they are safe and secure. We would like to thank each and every one of you today for being here to provide critical information to the public. And again, what you're about to hear from our superintendent, the board has had an opportunity to be briefed, and we're extremely confident, we're extremely proud of the work of our superintendent, his staff, who have focused, who have been resolute, who have been unwavering and innovative in their dedication, support, and commitment to safety of our children first and the education of our children moving forward. So again, we want to thank each and every one of you, and we want to encourage everyone to be vigilant and diligent in their preparation, in their awareness, and again, keeping our children education at the forefront and the safety and security of our entire community as we move forward through this very, very difficult period. But what we do know is that failure to plan is a plan to fail, and we're very, very proud of the plan that you're about to hear from our superintendent on behalf of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, with the fullness of the support of the Miami-Dade County Public School Board, and again, one that is geared toward the safety and security of our children, our faculty, our staff, and again, keeping in mind the continued education of our children moving forward. So again, thank you, and we're looking forward to this announcement that's about to be made. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
Good afternoon, everyone. In addition to the members of the board that have been introduced, I'd like to recognize the presence of the Archbishop of our community, my good friend Thomas Winsky, Bishop of Miami. Also with us is Dr. Kim Przybylski, who is the superintendent of the Archdiocese schools. We also have representing the consortium of charter schools in the greater Miami-Dade, Mr. Fernando Zulueta, President of Academica, and Maggie Frezen Zulueta, Vice President of Academica. This represents a united front, and there is no greater unity than the unity we have with our teacher representatives. And we have with us the President of UTD, Carla Hernandez-Matz, First Vice President Antonio White, and Secretary-Treasurer Ms. Mindy Grimes-Fesci. And I'd like to say, first and foremost, thank you to our teachers, to our support staff across the district for the level of intense preparation that has led to what I believe is a best-in-class plan for the developments ahead. I want to thank my entire team also for their work over the past few weeks. Needless to say, we are ready. This is not like preparing for a hurricane, for hurricanes are predictable in terms of their speed, anticipated devastation, and most importantly, timing. The coronavirus COVID-19 is unpredictable. We do not know when, where, or whom it will affect. Therefore, it is our moral and legal obligation to take whatever steps are necessary to protect our community, beginning with the most vulnerable and the most fragile. We have said time and time again, including just yesterday, that this is a fluid and evolving situation. And the last 24 hours have proven that. Over the past 24 hours, two significant elements occurred in our community. One, the unexpected and sudden closure of every one of Miami-Dade College's campuses, with little warning to our community. We have over 9,000 individuals enrolled in dual enrollment classes at all campuses, in addition to a high school present in all campuses, School for Advanced Studies. Overnight, we had to relocate those students for continuity of education to take place today. In addition to that, we detected significant challenges specific to interagency communication. Most recently revealed with a case of an employee of the municipality of Bay Harbor who earlier in the week was declared as being a presumptive case of COVID-19, for then the Department of Health to deny that confirmation, for then a retraction to take place, for then, inexplicably, last night at 10:13 p.m., for us to learn that, in fact, that individual was tested and tested positive for the coronavirus. That individual is not an employee of the school system, but that individual is responsible for aftercare services to dozens of children attending both public and private schools in the area. The cross-pollination through families, meaning siblings of those children who attend middle schools and senior high schools across the community, is something that we could not ignore. So as I said, considering the challenges associated with interagency communication and the swiftness or lack thereof that we detected last night, put us in a position, after having listened to our governor's declaration of emergency, having just recently heard our president's declaration of national emergency, we are now at a point of doing what is in the best interest of every single member of our community, beginning with our children and our employees. Therefore, I am declaring an emergency closure of all schools for the week beginning March 16th. That is this coming Monday. As we've told you before, curricular resources have been made available to every one of our teachers and every one of our students throughout our public school system. I want to be clear because I know our employees are listening. Every one of our MEP leaders, those are exempt managerial leaders in our school system, executives, are required to report to work as usual. In addition to them, our police unit will continue to work throughout the week. In addition to that, select teams of sanitation crews and maintenance crews, as well as food service personnel, will be reporting to work. Every one of the entities that I mentioned shall receive a call from their immediate supervisor. The week that follows will be spring break, and spring break will continue as planned. So this declaration of emergency is for 1 week and 1 week only. We shall revisit the timeline should circumstances change during the next week. I want to be clear about one thing. All after-school activities today will proceed as planned, but they shall be canceled beginning Monday. There is Saturday school that takes place tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday school, which occurs at 109 schools, will continue as scheduled for one reason that I will address in a little bit. In addition to that, our facilities are used by community partners for church services and club organization meetings. Those shall continue throughout this weekend. We will make a decision about the utilization of those buildings by these entities going into next weekend. We've spoken quite a bit about our ability to continue teaching and learning despite a school closure, and we are ready to do so. In fact, we have launched our ICP program, that's the Instructional Continuity Plan. We created a website dedicated to this instructional delivery platform at icp.dadeschools.net. That platform reveals specific grade-level aligned, standards-aligned, age-appropriate content for all students in the school system, with particular attention and adaptation to students with special needs. In fact, for students with special needs, in addition to access to the content, there will be supplemental resources to provide for their specific disability. We have activated and will continue to man a hotline, a support hotline, to provide support to the curriculum resources and our online distance learning model. That line is 305-995-HELP. Any parent, any student, any teacher can call that hotline for assistance with their learning program. It will be active will be active until 8 p.m. tonight, and then from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. starting Monday and throughout the week. We have begun this morning the distribution of personal devices to students. We have in excess of 200,000 devices available in our school system to put in the hands of students and even teachers who may not have those resources. Across all schools in Miami-Dade, that distribution has begun, and it will continue through tomorrow. That is why it is important to continue the Saturday school program ongoing to ensure that every single student, after they were surveyed, after they declared their need, to be able to pick up their device. In addition to that, the one school that will not be open for device distribution, obviously, is Ruth K. Broad, Bay Harbor. Distribution instructions for the devices for that school shall be communicated directly by the principal to all impacted parents and students. Beginning Monday, and this is a very important announcement for connectivity and access to internet resources in Miami-Dade, quite frankly, in some communities is not what it should be. We have been able to secure free internet Wi-Fi connectivity through Comcast Xfinity for every single person who needs it in our public school system at no cost for 60 days, and then we will seek renewal should there be a need. Simply put, every single family, every single student who needs resources will have resources for a continuation of learning beginning Monday. I am proud of the fact that we were able to swiftly have productive conversations with United Teachers of Dade to ensure that they are partners in bringing normalcy to our community beginning Monday. And informative meetings have taken place, professional development opportunities have taken place on a limited basis, and they shall continue online first thing Monday. So Monday, teachers will have additional online professional development to support the distance learning that the system will be offering. Teachers will be receiving communication directly from our HR department regarding the professional development opportunity beginning Monday. Speaking directly to our personnel, we are a poor community. 73.4% of our students live at or below the poverty level. Many of their parents are members of our workforce. We are monitoring and advocating for proposed legislation at the federal level. We are monitoring and advocating the expedited approval of state waivers to secure three important things. Number one, full relief through reimbursement for all costs associated with the shutdown, sanitization, and additional resources for both employees and teachers. That includes funds to provide for the hourly employees who, without working hours, are devoid of sustenance for their families. That is critically important to us. In addition to that, we will consider any and all options available to us to allow those employees to make up time lost once the emergency is lifted. Equally important, nobody in this community who works for Miami-Dade County Public Schools should go without the appropriate health care they deserve. That includes free coronavirus test at any medically approved facility under the care and recommendation of a doctor with no co-payment or co-insurance. In addition to that, with spring break approaching, I want to speak clearly through common sense language to our workforce. If individuals travel to hot zones across the world, if they travel to warning level 2 or 3, meaning any one of the 6 nations or locales across the globe, or they decide to take a cruise where an incident is declared. Upon their return, they will not be covered as far as their payroll is concerned during the quarantine or self-isolation time. That is common sense. We live in a community where high poverty translates into food insecurity. That means for over 73% of our children, if schools are closed and there are no plans, no provisions, they may very well go without eating. That is why this board has taken proactive action and policy over the past few years to ensure that during school closures, children shall continue to be fed. That is why we have planned and will begin executing a community feeding plan beginning this Monday. Between 9 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., every one of our children at every one of our schools shall have the right to have access to a free, nutritious hot meal. That includes breakfast and lunch at every single site. We will continue to work with our federal partners to ensure that what we are doing today is fully reimbursed after the fact. That requires a waiver approval by USDA at the federal level. I'm encouraged by conversations that we have had with Senator Marco Rubio, as well as a number of members of Congress who are sponsoring and supporting these waiver provisions at the federal level. In addition to that, it is not lost to us that Tuesday, March 17th, is an election day. Our sites shall be open and remain open for the election. Immediately following the election, those sites shall be cleaned and sanitized to the highest level requirement to ensure a safe and healthy return for our children and those who teach them every single day. We're not going to be idle during this week of closure and the spring break that will follow. In fact, we're going to take advantage of these 14 days to achieve one thing. 14 days is the parallel equivalent to the time period declared by medical entities associated with a declaration of symptoms specific to COVID-19. The incubation period is timed to be around 14 days. That is an advantage to us. For if any one employee or student develops symptoms during that time period, they can actually seek medical attention, and when we restart the school system, they will not be there if the appropriate protocols in collaboration with the health department are in fact followed. During school closure time, we're also going to accelerate capital improvement projects in our school system. This is time off for students, time off for some staff members, but not time off for the private sector partners who can in fact take advantage of the absence of students to accelerate their capital improvements without compromising, further potentially compromising the safety and well-being and health of our students. In addition to that, we will utilize this time to engage in deep cleaning of our schools and deep sanitization of every one of our buildings. We are ensuring that every one of the private sector contractors that has access to our schools is following the strictest, highest level CDC protocols, as well as our own Miami-Dade County Public Schools protocols. That means if they traveled, if they are in a compromised position, they cannot come into our facilities. Critical to our teachers, principals, and parents. With graduation dates approaching, it is important for us to advocate with Tallahassee and the federal level for a consideration of relaxation.
Yes.
Stand by, feet and go. 3, 2.
Teachers aren't healthy, they can't learn. If our students aren't healthy, they can't learn. And if our teachers aren't healthy, they can't teach. For weeks, we have emphasized prevention. And I want to thank our district's students, staff, and parents for prioritizing and raising awareness about the importance of proper hygiene. Our Broward County Public Schools community, students, families, staff, and community members have absolutely stepped up to the plate. At this time, I would like to invite Superintendent Robert Runcie to share additional information from the district.
All right. Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, everyone. This morning, I reached out to our neighboring districts, initiated some conversations with both superintendents in recognition that our districts are inextricably linked. I wanted to get a pulse for where everyone was relative to the challenges we're facing with the coronavirus. And I will tell you that we are very much connected. In Broward County, I believe somewhere close to a quarter of our employees live in Miami-Dade, work here. Many of Dade's employees live in Broward County, and we have the same situation with Palm Beach. And if you look at the three districts collectively, we would be the second largest public school system in the United States. So our opportunity to impact how this challenge we have with this virus impacts our communities and this region is significant. So as the three largest districts, we try to make sure that we align our strategies. I also today did a call, a meeting with our business leaders, our government leaders in Broward County, community organizations, to alert them to the possibility of what would occur should we close schools and have a significant impact on a community, a significant ramifications. As you can imagine, we have workforce impacts, economic impacts as well. So that was a good, healthy conversation. And I want to announce today that Broward County Public Schools will close temporarily in response to the threat of coronavirus. And that means we're closing schools next week, but we're not closing operations, and I'll distinguish the two. And by the way, our spring break is the following week, so we effectively would be closed for 2 weeks. All staff will report to work on Monday and Tuesday according to their normal schedule. Tuesday, in fact, we actually had as a non-instructional day because that's an election day. We have over, I believe it's somewhere like around 120 or more polling sites. So we had no instruction going on those days. Students would have returned on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those are all working days. Required school and district services staff must report to work according to their assigned position. We are advising our supervisors and management staff to provide flexibility in case we have employees who need to work at home for any particular health reasons. And then again, moving into the following week, we will observe our normal spring break work schedule. So in effect, our students would be missing about 2.5 days of instruction. So there's not as big as a impact given what our schedule has been. So what I want to, again, reemphasize is that every action has a reaction. And we know that if children are home rather than at school, there's a consequence to their parents who may work during the day. They need child care services. And in cases where we know that if they're in school and we have cases where coronavirus is found in our schools, and those students who are not affected by the virus, they'll have to actually go home. So part of our strategy that we had before, when students are identified, they're isolated, we would require parents or guardians to come and pick them up. We know that creates a challenge as well. So again, we will temporarily close schools in order to safeguard our students, our teachers, staff, parents, and the greater Broward County community against what is clearly an extremely contagious disease. As mentioned before by Ms. Korn, we're definitely ready. So I'm going to get into some particulars of how we will provide support to families and children as we move forward. So first, before and after care, in particular child care. So we're ready to provide before and after school child care services. We are going to prioritize district staff, hospital, emergency staff, and first responder with child care services to the programs that we'll set up at a number of sites around the county. There's a number of locations. I believe right now we have about 9 or so sites that we've set up, and those details will be provided on our website. I'm not going to read through all of those. So that will be available. Students who will attend must be Broward County public schools or charter school students. They have to show a Broward County school identification number. So we are requiring those credentials to be provided in order for them to take advantage of it. And again, we're giving priority to Broward County emergency personnel, such as police, firefighters, as well as medical staff and personnel. On food, that's one of the first topics that comes to mind when we think about closing food because our schools, because we know so many of our students rely on this district for basic meals that they need. Over 60% of our students in this district rely on free and reduced meals. And so that's a priority that we certainly take into consideration, and we are ready to feed our students during the time that they are actually home. We've designated 8 schools for meal preparation and distribution. There are high schools, Boyd Anderson, Blanche Ely High School, Dillard High School, Flanagan High School, Hallandale, Miramar High School, Nova, and Taravella High Schools. We've done that so we have some distribution and coverage throughout the entire county. Breakfast meal service will be available from 8 to 10 a.m. at those sites, and lunch will be available from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at those particular sites as well. Meals will be made available this coming Monday, March 16th, Wednesday, March 18th, and Thursday, March 19th. Students, again, will need to present their credentials, their school identification, and they will receive a meal for themselves as well as family members if they happen to be present at that time. Meal distribution will be walk up or pull up to the designated distribution sites on campus. We also, on our call today with our community partners, we are going to continue to partner with several organizations that ensure that we can address food insecurity challenges that we know exist in our communities. So Feeding South Florida, the Hunger Coalition, and the United Way, just to name a few, will be collaborating with the district to make sure that we are providing food to our students and families. On cleaning, the spring break creates a great opportunity for us to take advantage of that time to ensure that our schools are able to be cleaned and disinfected by staff. That includes our buses, any areas that are used and accessed by students and staff in this district. On the education side, the learning, what we call learning never closes, which is really about continuing education over extended periods of time. We will actually execute this plan should we extend the closure beyond spring break. So that has 3 specific components. And before I mention that, I just want to emphasize that next week our 3rd quarter ends on Thursday, and we certainly appreciate the tremendous work that our teachers do. Our teachers always work with our students with the best interests in mind, with compassion and love, and we encourage them to do that as we try to be as flexible as possible, given that we are closing next week and we'll miss a couple days of instruction. We've set up a website and infrastructure that covers three things. So we have content that's out there that's been developed, including lesson plans, project-based learning opportunities for students. The second piece of it is the availability of devices. We have devices that are ready to distribute. We would distribute those toward the end of the week of spring break or on Monday, March 30th, should we extend the closure beyond that period of time. Because if we don't go beyond that period of time, it would be normally what we would do for our spring break. Students would come back and we would resume instruction in our schools. We have also worked with some partners such as Comcast. They've had a program around for quite a while that for actually over a couple decades they've made available to school districts around the country. We certainly participate in that. It's called Internet Essentials, which provides significantly discounted internet access services for families, and so we will make sure that we continue to push that. Should we have an extended closure period, we want to make sure there's equity in this district and our community, and all our students would have an opportunity to not only get a device, but have connectivity as well. Regarding our hourly employees, this district has over 30,000 employees. About half of them are teachers. The rest of the support staff, everyone from our TSPs to our substitute teachers, to our food service workers, our custodians, our bus drivers, our mechanics, our maintenance workers, all of these staff make this district run to be able to provide the quality of educational experiences that we're able to deliver to our students. And as the county's largest employer, we have every intention to continue paying our employees. All permanent, full, and part-time employees will receive pay according to their normal schedule. Any questions, you can direct them to your school or department. So this is a message for our employees. Benefits eligible employees and their covered dependents can always contact our Aetna customer service line at 1-800-562-7822 for questions regarding coverage, service, and pharmacy. Again, we also have our employee assistance program, and I also want to note that Aetna will waive co-pays for all diagnostic testing related to the coronavirus. And for the next 90 days, Aetna will offer zero co-pay for telemedicine visits for any reason. So we're trying to make sure that our employees, there are no barriers to them receiving the healthcare services that they need. This is a uncharted territory for not only us in Broward County, but I think for this nation. And one thing I know gets humanity through these challenges, and that's if we put our differences aside and we work collaboratively, that we look out for our friends and neighbors. And I think if we do that, we will get through this challenge. And you know, I can tell you my experience in life is that challenges can make you better. This is a very resilient community, and we will step up to this challenge and be stronger on the other end. With that said, thank you for coming today and helping to share this information with our community. I will open it up for questions. Yeah, so the school, one moment, let me make sure I give you the accurate dates on that. But the food schedule we will have is next week. So lunch will be available from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at those 8 sites I mentioned to you. And by the way, all of this information will be available on the Broward Schools website, browardschools.com/coronavirus. We'll have all these updates. But lunch will be available from 11 to 1 p.m. And meals will be available from on Monday, March 16th, Wednesday, March 18th, and Thursday, March 19th. And we have breakfast. Breakfast is going to be available, I believe it was 8 to 10 on those same days. Yeah, breakfast will be available from 8 to 10. Do you want the list of the schools as well again?
I've got that.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you.
So just to clarify, the students are only going to be missing 2.5 days of instruction, is that correct?
That's correct. So we had instruction on Monday. Tuesday, we were closed. That's a voting day, and we wanted to, as a precautionary measure, we suspended instruction on those days since we know we were having lots of visitors that would show up on our campuses. And by the way, those voting spots in our school, they're restricted, isolated areas, and we are going to make sure that those areas are cleaned and sanitized before schools reopen again. So we had the Monday, and then we had Wednesday, half-day Thursday. So that was the schedule for instruction, and that's going to be the impact from a student standpoint. We will be providing formal communication to the State Department of Education on how we handle that. I spoke today twice with Commissioner Corcoran about this as well. I believe that they will be making some announcement today about recommending to districts about how much time they believe that they should suspend and close so that as a whole, the state can put a strategy in place to deal with the virus and contain the spread of it.
Can you clarify the staff that has to report to work next week, even on the days off on Thursday and Friday? Is that accurate?
Yes, so for next week, we are, all staff reports to work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We were adjusting that schedule to provide some flexibility for students, for our employees. But essentially, it's a regular work week for all employees based on the schedule that they would have. However, what we're suggesting is that for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we would suggest that there be some flexibility with employees who need flexibility. It could either be childcare related, it could be health concerns. We're suggesting that we show some compassion and flexibility with our employees there, and we'll deal with those on a case-by-case basis. Anything else? Yes.
Can you explain to us that the priority, you have the priority, what is your
At this time, I can't tell you what the number of students will be. I just know that we have identified 9 sites throughout the county, and we will prioritize the most critical staff in the county, as I said, first responders, emergency staff, medical and hospital staff, and then district staff will have access to those. And these are, again, they would have to present their credentials, but we want to make sure that we don't impact those institutions. You can imagine if a hospital had a number of employees who also had children but had no access to child care, decided to stay home, it would further exacerbate this community's ability to provide critical healthcare services to deal with the coronavirus. I think our healthcare systems are going to be enormously challenged. I have a daughter, actually, who's a doctor in Boston. She's an emergency room doctor, and I can tell you they're starting to get taxed already, and we're early at the onset of the spread of this virus. So we have to do what we can as a community partner to make sure that we're minimizing the impact on those institutions.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.